it's just surreal to imagine that this is happening. And I've seen it with my own eyes.
I saw things that I thought I would never see, that I didn't think existed in this century.
I knew there was poverty, and I knew there was prostitution and things such as that, but I didn't know people were forced to do it.
It's like they have responsibilities that young children shouldn't have.
My father was very sick. My family borrowed from a money lender to pay the hospital. After that, I had to stop going to school.
They were forced to work. They didn't have a choice. They couldn't say, I'm 7 years old, I can't do that, I have to go to school.
Many times in a medical emergency or some kind of disaster or anything like that in somebody's lives, they'll have to take out money from a moneylender.
The loaner will give them maybe 2,000 rupees and says that you're going to have to work for me until you give me back this exact amount in one lump sum. You can't pay it off piece by piece.
Sometimes debts are as small as $25 US.
But the only way he will give them that money is if they will sell their children to him.
And he'll pay them as little as he wants to. And so he'll pay them like 7 rupees a day or something like that, and it'll be just enough to pay for food. And so they get sucked in, and it's a trap.
And then he charges an interest rate that might be 100% a year, or 500 or 600 or 1,000% a year.
And they're never able to fully pay off their loan. And so they end up working the rest of their lives, and then the kids are sucked in because they take on their parents' debts when their parents die or when their parents can no longer work. And so then the kids have the responsibility of the loan, and so they end up working their whole lives.
So you see families, whole families, 6 people in a family may be working 6 or 7 days out of a week for 150 rupees, which is basically $3.
Seeing injustice that is happening here has opened my eyes to how much the church focuses on what God loves instead of what God hates.
It could be abusive authorities against street children. It could be corrupt police selling a 15-year-old girl as a prostitute. It could be land that is taken from a widow.
When I see these little kids that are just spending up to 16 hours a day doing manual labor, it just breaks my heart. As we were driving through town, I saw that most of these houses and most of these walls were made out of brick, and I'd never really thought about where the brick actually came from.
They have to make 1,000 bricks a day.
And it's monsoon season, so if it just happened to rain that day, they'd lose the whole day's work. And what would happen if they lost the day's work? They wouldn't get paid.
It's just amazing. Like amazing as in horrible amazing, like how could that happen?
It's funny to see all this poverty that these people were in, and then just maybe 100 yards away you see this really big, enormous white house. And I found out that that was the Mudali, or the owner's home. It was like, how do you explain it, like stealing from a child's cradle. I mean, taking what someone could have had and just ripping it away from them.
How long have you guys been working here?
She's working for the past 40 years in breaking the stones.
The stone quarry was definitely the worst place for work that I saw. It was very, very hard work.
One thing that really amazed me was that these people weren't only working at this quarry, they were living at it. They would live in these maybe 4-foot by 9-foot shacks with anywhere from 5 to 10 people in one.
The people that lived there lived in miserable conditions. It was dangerous.
I mean, you see these people working with machines, and the first thing that came to my mind is, does anyone sort of kind of like get sucked into one of those things, and are there kind of casualties? It looks like if someone tripped, they're gone.
And how much do they get paid?
எவ்வளோ வாங்குறாங்க கூலி? எவ்வளோ வாங்குறாங்க கூலி? She didn't know.
One other location we went to was involved in making bidis.
A bidi is a kind of cigarette that is unfiltered. It's basically just a cigarette, but a lot worse for you.
Does she remember why she had to be sold into bondage to roll a bidi?
She said that our father was a drunkard man.
There's really nothing strange about poor children working to help support the family income. But when an oppressor comes into the picture, that's when things get a little weird.
I think it's almost exactly like slavery. At first I thought, well, you know, this is an economic thing and it's their fault for getting into debt. But now I really think that they don't have a choice.
The children that I've talked to and seen are working because if they don't, the owner will find a way to basically starve the family.
They don't have insurance when somebody gets sick or when their house blows down or something like that.
How much did you get paid for the work?
Per day he received 7 rupees.
For working from 7 in the morning until 11 o'clock
Yes.
at night, 7 rupees. That is maybe 20 cents?
I mean, there's a lot of children just running around, kind of sort of messing around, playing, living their lives. And then you see a lot of other people and a lot of children who aren't as fortunate to be outside at the time, sitting there moving their hands really quickly and to try to make the amount of bidis that they have to make a day, to close the amount of bidis they have to make a day so that they won't be beaten or punished. Their whole lives are spent rolling these bidis. And for what? So that they can wake up the next day and do it all over again.
I had always pictured matches being made in some big factory by machines that would just line them all up, put the chemicals on them, stuff them in the boxes. It's heartbreaking. There was no rest time or break time. It was you work until you're done working for him, and he would set the hours. During one incident that I was documenting, a 7-year-old boy was involved with bidi work. His owner would beat him on his fingers anytime he didn't close the end of his bidis correctly or if he didn't meet his quota for that day. I had to fight back my anger and tears. It was to a point where he knew the beatings were coming, so he would just do it to get it over with, and by the time he was done beating himself, his hands were numb, so when his owner hit him, it didn't make a difference. And that's what injustice is about. They keep beating until the people have been desensitized and no longer feel the pain that they're undergoing.
My owner used to beat me on the back with a bamboo stick.
It was just heartbreaking to see that from the age of 5 for some of these children, that's all they've grown up with.
We know how to deal with poverty. We know how to deal with lack of food. These are things that we can fix, that we can put a stop to, put an end to. But some of the things that really get to me is the people out there who are causing these things, forcibly putting people into poverty, forcibly putting them in a place where they can't get enough food, can't get enough water. There's oppressors out there.